Welcome, folks. I am Georgina Donahue, the Director of Community here at Pragmatic Institute. Today, I have the very great pleasure of being joined by Nils Janse, founder at Delibr. He is here to talk to us about ChatGPT and how product professionals can really weave this tool into their work to elevate products, workflows, and organizations as a whole. So, as you folks are all hopping on, tell me in the chat, what is the one best thing that you have used ChatGPT for so far? I'm sure you've all played with it and found kind of fun ways to use it, but just pick one. Tell me one very best thing that you've used it for so far, as we are running through some housekeeping. So when you're entering those answers, you should do so in the chat box below. That's the best place for you to really swap ideas with peers while Nils is guiding us through this session. From the dropdown, make sure you select everyone, otherwise your comments won't have very much reach. If you've got a question specifically for Nils, please use the Q&A box down below, separate Q&A box to log your questions. We're going to have a really vibrant Q&A session at the end of our time together, and I'm going to keep an eye on that Q&A box so that I can flag questions for Nils to really drive that discussion. Finally, this session is absolutely being recorded, and every single one of you will receive a copy in your inbox in the next coming days. So no worries about taking fervent notes, or if you have to drop 15 minutes early, we have you covered. All right, so that's it for housekeeping. Nils, you can pop me over to the next slide, please. Once again, everybody, welcome. I am Georgina Donahue, Director of Community at Pragmatic Institute. One alumni community member recently said that the community is like having a gazillion friends tell you what they've done with the lessons they learned in pragmatic training, and I think that's pretty on point. So the community is really all about real-life experiences and conversations with other product folks, and sessions like this one, where we speak to really elevated practitioners and founders, are one way that we do that, in addition to so many more. So if you're not an alumni yet, I hope that you become one soon and you join us there. Let's jump right into things. Nils, I'm ready for the next slide, please. And I am absolutely delighted to introduce all of you to Nils Janse. He's the founder at Delibr, which is a really powerful tool designed to help product teams better collaborate on feature refinement and that process. He's also the author of the book Epic Alignment, and most recently, he's been really celebrated and sought after in the product industry for his deep, deep knowledge of ChatGPT and its integration with other tools like Delibr. So welcome, Nils. I can't wait for our group to hear from you. I'm going to pass the reins right over so that you can further introduce yourself and start sharing more with us.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. So first off, I just wanted to share, I added this little image. This is not ChatGPT, but it's another cool feat of the generative AI. This is how the world reacts to a new chatbot generated by Dali. Okay, moving right on. So briefly about me, like Georgina already said, I'm the author of the book Epic Alignment. It's a book for product managers and helping them how to work with feature documents. When I wrote that a couple of years ago, I had interviewed about 300 product managers. Now, I don't know, I think I lost count at about 500, but we at Delibr, we talk with a lot of product managers. I love engaging, and so I'm looking forward to the Q&A later as well. I'm the founder of Delibr, or Delibr AI, as we're coming to call it now, because we're integrating AI. It's a tool for product managers. I'll come back briefly to that. I also was on the board of directors of Storytel. It's unknown in the US. No, it's not entirely. It bought audiobooks.com in the US, so they're kind of in there. And before that, I was a strategy consultant for a lot of years, and I'm an engineer in the background. Enough about me. On to a meme. So I'm sure you have seen this meme. AI will not replace you. A person using AI will. It's black on white text on black. It looks kind of scary. But the thing that that's kind of underneath of this, the kind of hidden meaning here is, of course, that a person using AI will replace you unless you are that person. So I guess that's what we're gonna make sure in this session, that you're that person and not the person being replaced. So first, super briefly about GPT-3 and ChatGPT. So GPT-3, what is it? So it's an advanced AI language model developed by OpenAI. What it does, it just takes a bunch of words and looks at what's the likely next word and the next word and the next word. And by doing this, the things it can do is absolutely crazy. It actually existed for quite some time before OpenAI decided to add a simple kind of wrapper app around it that they call the ChatGPT. And that app is the most successful app in world history, actually. It got to 1 million users in 5 days. And you can see a comparison with other actually rather successful companies, and you can see that they have got nothing up against ChatGPT. And since then, of course, it's gone way, way, way beyond 1 million users. I'm sure you're all among them. If you're not, you should be. And so yeah, this is very briefly, what is GPT-3, what's ChatGPT? So at this point, I just want to take a step back and have a fun example, because I think people don't realize how crazy versatile this tool is. This is one thing I did, I think it was at the party, to illustrate the kind of versatility, just like telling it, pretend that you're an ATM, ask me questions. And then it said like, please enter your card. And I'm like entering my card, and then it goes, please enter your PIN number. And I enter it, and then kind of what transaction you want to make. And then at this point, actually, after you scroll down, it goes like, I can't give you any money. I'm just a model, yada, yada. But you can see here that you can tell it anything and you can get anything back. So it's super, super versatile, and you can use it for any situation where you want text in and out. And so looking at GPT-3 and ChatGPT, kind of capabilities and limitations, like I mentioned, you can take any text input and return any text output, basically. So that's extremely versatile and powerful. It also works super fast, at least compared to a human. It's crazy. I'm sure you experienced this. It writes super good English and actually okay Swedish as well. And it understands quite complicated arguments in GPT-3. And it has access to vast data set, basically everything on the internet, Wikipedia, all books crammed into it. Some limitations of GPT-3. So it can only work with text as input and output. It can maximum handle 3,000 words roughly as input and output combined. It has a clear cognitive ceiling. And with this, I mean, like if you ask too complicated things of GPT-3, it's going to hit the wall. And the training data cuts off in 2021. It has no access to real-time data. GPT-3 can't take any actions and answers kind of, sometimes it doesn't say stuff that's true. For example, if you ask of distance between two cities, it confidently answers something that's absolutely wrong. This is called hallucinations, and it's a rather big problem. Okay, now I'm sure some of you are frustrated because this is ancient, what I just showed you. It was true in November, but since then time has passed. So, and now we're actually in April, and a lot has happened. And of these 7 limitations that I mentioned, 6 of them have been radically changed. So GPT-3 was the one before. GPT-4 came in March. It can take text or images as input. It can handle, the limit was 3,000 words before. Now with GPT-4, it's 25,000 words. That's a lot of context you can give it. And it also has a much higher cognitive ceiling. The way I like to illustrate the cognitive ceiling race is if they let GPT-3 do the bar exam, and it was better than 10% of students. That's quite impressive. GPT-3 was better than 10% of students that studied the whole education for the bar exam, 10%. But then GPT-3 is better than 90%, starting to get crazy, scary, good. And people talk about artificial general intelligence. I think GPT-4 should be viewed as kind of artificial general intelligence. It also has a lot less hallucinations. And in combination with GPT-4, there was right after that was also ChatGPT plugins were added. So here the ChatGPT can fetch information from internet, work together with other apps. It can take action with other apps, and so out of these 7 limitations, ChatGPT with GPT-4 and ChatGPT plugins has erased or radically reduced 6 out of 7 of the limitations. I think that's really impressive. And then this is not just ChatGPT, but there's a lot of other stuff happening as well. And one example I wanted to show you on how smart GPT-4 is. I think this is super cool. It's from a guy called Daniel Feldman. He posted it on Twitter. So he says like this: I'm in my house. On top of my chair in the living room is a coffee cup. Inside the coffee cup is a thimble. Inside the thimble is a diamond. I move the chair to my bedroom. Then I put the coffee cup on the bed. Then I turn the cup upside down. Then I return it right side up. It places the coffee cup in the kitchen counter. Where is my diamond? If you ask this to GPT-3, it has no idea. But GPT-4 says, when you turn the coffee cup upside down on your bed, the diamond inside would likely have fallen out. It's now on your bed. So it has somehow, in all this training, it has a really good conceptual understanding, not only of a lot of fact, but also of the world. So you can really benefit from this. Throw it anything, and it will probably be really helpful. Okay, moving on. This is now, I talked about ChatGPT plugins that's added in the OpenAI ChatGPT. I'm sure you've also seen Microsoft CoPilot that they launched. They are using GPT-4 in the background, but they are using it to interact with the different parts of the Office suite. And so you can ask it to pull up a new graph in Excel, or make some slides in PowerPoint, or draft a response in Outlook, or write something for you in Word. Super powerful stuff. So all of this is meaning that GPT-4 is no longer locked in the box, but it has contact with the world via a lot of other apps and can take action. And since then, a lot of more proliferation of these different types of tools have come. So I'm sure you've seen the news being bombarded with this. One thing I think is a multimodal. I guess this is a little bit corny, but I wanted to add it anyway. So this is my girlfriend. I wanted to use the Mid-Journey, and I sent to her, this is her as an elf, her in steampunk gear at Burning Man. This is her as Catwoman. You see, I just said, take this picture and make it as an elf. Or these things, and that's basically multimodality. So you can now give it images and text, and it will get you this thing back. This is actually Mid-Journey 4. Since then Mid-Journey 5 has come, it's even more powerful. But it goes to show how you can use different combinations of media even more fluidly. And since then, there's also come something called Hugging GPT that can integrate with a lot of other models to get multimodal work done. Cool. Suffice to say, the AI Showdown has started. So Microsoft has gone in really strong in the first round here, with investing first $1 billion and then $10 billion in OpenAI, and then introducing this in Bing and Outlook and everything to make a really strong stand against Google, that was supposedly the AI leader before, but now they issued this code red when ChatGPT came. They have launched Bard. They are like Sergey Brin did the first code commit in many years, and his code commit was to give a lot of developers access to Bard so they can start developing competing stuff. And Microsoft and Google are the ones that are kind of most publicity around them, but everybody's piling on here. Both are all the big players, but also a lot of small players, and OpenAI has a big kind of platform competitor in Anthropic that is also releasing big models. So the world is moving really fast, and then the Showdown is just kind of the ChatGPT was like the starting shot being fired, and now everything is off the races. Cool. So now, if we take, if this was an introduction to what's going on in the kind of AI world, now we focus in on you guys. You are product managers. I'll put it like this: if you are working with a product that in some way works with text, you really need to think about this. So the way I try to think about splitting out the ways that AI can be helpful is generative AI, evaluative AI, and interactive AI. In a way, these are ways you can leverage these large language models that GPT family is based on, but many others are based on this as well. This is where the revolution came. So the first one, generative AI, it's sometimes also referred to as completions. It's like when the user wants to write a text or actually any other content with this multimodality, AI can help the user create that content. So if you have users in your product that produce some kind of text or content, you should really consider whether they should be doing that or whether AI should be doing it for them, and they should just revise and approve. The second one is evaluative AI. It's like when the user wants to kind of search, categorize, or kind of assess some kind of content and come up to some kind of conclusion or fetch some kind of information. An AI can do that instead, kind of interpret and evaluate the content. So that's a really big use case that also is valuable. So if you ever have users that want to get some information out, AI should do it. And then the third category here is I call interactive AI. It's kind of exemplified with CoPilot. So when the user wants to do things in the product or actually across your product and other products, they can really leverage this by just chatting with an AI and letting the AI take actions. These models are super good at interacting with APIs. So if you set it up properly, you can really leverage that in a similar way that Microsoft did with their Copilot. You could do a Copilot for your product. Okay, I just wanted to take one example of kind of the first chunk here, kind of generative AI, how to think about that to make your own product better. So here you have your user, your product, and then you have some kind of AI model. So the first thing you need is you need some kind of interface for the user where they can add input. They add some input. Then it's up to you to be smart about how do you turn the input that the user provided into a really good comprehensive prompt that ensures that the AI works on the right stuff, because you know a lot of stuff that the user maybe doesn't know. So for you to extend and build a more sophisticated prompt will get a lot better answer than just putting what the user wrote in. So I really suggest you start to think about this. How can you kind of augment the questions that they ask to build better prompts? Then you send this prompt to the AI model. Maybe it's just a plain model, or maybe you fine-tune the model. It's a lot easier than many people think. And then you get back an answer. It's like a text chunk that you get back. And then you need to kind of reformat that text chunk and then show it to the user. And then the user gets it back and looks at it. And either they say, this is great, this is what I wanted, or maybe they give some feedback and you have it another cycle. This basically means that whenever the user wants to create some input, create some content or text, they just say, what is the thing I want to do? And they get it, and they're happy. And they shortcut the whole process of creating it. And because you are such domain experts in your product, you will be able to really, really make it much better experience than then going to ChatGPT to try to do it on their own. It will be, by doing it like this, you will integrate it into your product, which will make it a smoother flow. And you will also add a lot of knowledge that you have that will make the answer much better. So it will be better and faster than ChatGPT by making it in your product. Okay, cool. So now briefly as an example of how this can be done, I'll take my own product, Delibr. So I'm the kind of guy that always lives a little bit in the future. On things like, for me, it's strange that we don't have 3D printed houses by now. I thought like for 10 years, I thought like, when do we have this? And I studied AI 20 years ago in my engineering studies. And since then, I've always been continually disappointed. But when this came, I was like complete shock. And I was walking around with kind of future vertigo. I still do. But and the only thing I talked to with everybody I met was the latest AI revolution. I still do. My girlfriend thinks I'm super annoying because this is, as you can imagine, the only thing I talk and think about. But then one kind of night, I just woke up. This is how we're going to integrate it into Delibr. First, some context, what is Delibr? So Delibr is a tool for product managers. It's basically a workflow tool. So we help PMs kind of from the point where they collect different feedback, either requests or interviews, structure that feedback into kind of trees, and then kind of use whenever you start to think about the solution, we help PMs write good feature documents where we have decision support and we have integrations with the other tools they use, and then they kind of as they continue to refine the features, they also kind of go into some kind of prioritization, what are we going to do, and then into planning, and then we also have an integration with Jira. So we kind of from insight into all the way work into kind of hand it over to the developers with Jira tickets. That's kind of scope of our product and what we do. And then the next thing that was like, what can we do here? Yeah, you can see a hint already, the robot coming in. And so the first thing that we implemented that has been really, really powerful is this thing, auto-generated PRDs. I mean, it's crazy. So the first thing we had was we had like dynamic templates where you want to write the PRD, you get a dynamic template and you can kind of add the different items you want, and you get a little placeholders and some help, some scaffolding to think about it, but have some flexibility. But now you also have the opportunity of just skipping the template, just press the robot button and let the AI assistant write it for you. And then you just say, what is the name of the feature I'm going to do? And then kind of how am I thinking about this? And then what we do, same as the one I showed you here, then we take this, we build a really extensive prompt, and then we have like a model that we worked with to generate and get a response that we then format and then create the PRD. And when people see this, the normal reaction is something like, whoa, you just created in a minute the thing that took me 3 hours to do last week. So I think, to be honest, that if that's true, then you are an okay product manager. If you're a great product manager, you will still say, wow, this is a super good start for a PRD. But it's really fascinating how the model can create not only a template, but fill it up with relevant stuff, like thinking about relevant use cases, coming up with user stories and slicing that is not unreasonable, and really be thought-provoking. It's crazy. So that's the first thing we did, and it shows as an example that you can probably do something similar to this in your product. And then, of course, there's a bunch of other stuff we are doing. So you can already add a bunch of different items that are relevant to your PRD, just injecting parts. Another thing that's helpful that already exists is a lot of PMs, they write the PRD, and then an executive comes and asks, oh, I can't read the whole PRD. What's the summary? Now you can just go Delibr AI executive summary. Boom, you have a summary of your PRD. You can hand it to the executive. You just shortcutted that. Similar thing with help center article, release notes, marketing brief, and so forth. So it's super powerful, because one thing that GPT-4 now is really good at is turning some content and rewriting it on a different format and injecting some thinking on it on top of that as well. And then, of course, there's a lot of kind of giving feedback on what you did. So doing something and asking, how was this, is super helpful. Summarizing stuff, extracting, you get it. And there are a lot more to come. I don't want to bore you with what we're doing, but we're so excited about this. Then, now we talked about concretely what this can mean for product managers. Now I'm going to go back and take a really big step back into kind of what's going on, where are we? How to understand this AI revolution at a higher level. And so what's happening right now, the best way to think about it is to think about it like, the move from oil paintings to photography? That was a really big shift. I think what's happening now is the same, but for intelligence. And so basically, before the oil paintings, you had to painstakingly do it to make an oil painting. With the photography, you could just take a snap. Now, whenever it's about creating content, evaluating content, as well as doing different type of actions, it's increasingly something that just an AI can just do. If you can define it clearly, you can just have it done. So that's incredibly disruptive. If there's any disruption is like a buzzword, but I think this is truly disruptive. Okay, how can businesses relate to this? So as an old strategy consultant, I'm sure you can figure out, I thought about this, and I'm also doing a bunch of kind of strategy gigs related to this adjacent because it's just so hot topic right now. And so one thing I start with when I talk to kind of management teams about think about it, I think there are two things that companies need to do. The first thing is to really make sure they take part of this productivity increase, and the other one is meeting the market, or meeting the new market, actually. So taking part of the productivity increase. One thing is to kind of provide the right tools to your employees, making sure that they get ChatGPT if they haven't got it, or some other. You can if you're afraid of getting them access to proprietary sending data, then you can have like a model that you run yourself and cap it, but make sure that they get the right tools, both the general tools and the specific tools for their workflow. Train and coach their employees about how to do this. Is super critical as well. A lot of people in organizations, they walk around and they manually write bunch of content. Shouldn't be done anymore. You should just generate it, revise it, and go. And then the next thing is like evaluating things. They should get a lot of help like that. And then the third thing about doing the productivity increase is kind of reviewing your processes, like looking through, do like an inventory, all the things you're doing in your company. What of this could an AI do? And then go after that. And together, these things will amount to a massive productivity increase. Okay, so the other half of this then is kind of meeting the market, because this is just changing the company and making you a lot more effective. But the other one is kind of saying, okay, if we are now so much faster and better, what can we do, not just to do it cheaper, but do it better? Can we add more value to our customers? Can we help them in more ways, and so forth? And then the other one is to kind of understand the elasticity curve. Now, I'm not sure. I'm sure you studied a little bit of economics, but you know how you have the market supply and demand, there's elasticity. And here, like, you don't know if it's something like, let me take an inelastic example. It's like drawings for summer homes, like architectural drawings for summer homes. That's not, if that is now 10 times as effective to do, people won't build 10 times as many summer homes. So what's going to happen is that 90% of the people that are only now drawing kind of summer homes, they're not going to be doing that in a while. So you need to figure out as a company, what of the things that you will now be much more effective at is going to be much more demanded. I think like doctors, everybody wants to go more to the doctor to figure out, get more health. Psychologists, the same. Coding is for sure the same. Customer support, I think, is also something that's going to get hit. But figuring this out and having a holistic way to think about it as a business is going to be really relevant. And for you as a PM, it's good to have the business mindset. Okay, then being much more concrete now, drilling into this first point of being productive and kind of teaching how to do this. I think prompt engineering is a buzzword, but it's also really good for you to know. Basically, prompt engineering is kind of how you work to write these prompts to the GPT to get good answers. In a way, it's like the better questions you ask, the better prompts you do, the quality of your output is going to be much better or worse. It's exactly like talking to a human. If you give a human a good task, you're going to get a good answer. If you just do it vaguely to someone, give them a vague task, you're going to get much less stuff back. So this is something you need to get good at. Some kind of prompt engineering approaches that I've seen work really well. So one thing is kind of background, situation, and problem. What kind of, where are we and what do we want to achieve? Second one, information. This is new because GPT-4 has 25,000 words. It's insane. That means you can just pile on documents, email, correspondence. You can give it a lot of stuff to give it more information that it will allow it to make a better conclusion. Articulating the goal, like what am I trying to get out? What do I want to get out of it? What's the desired reaction I want, or however you want to phrase the goal. Also, something that's a little bit interesting and super weird that you wouldn't expect from a normal computer, but these AIs are not like normal computers. Flavor, I call it. It's basically pretend to be right in the style of now you are super good. If you write you are super smart, that changes the response you get. So think about the flavor. Also format. How do you want it? You want how long, short do you want? Do you want tables? Do you want links? What do you want? Also really good approaches to prompt engineering. And then lastly, iteration. Be mindful that if you do the first one is just like give me an outline, then you can give feedback on the outline a couple of iterations, then you go draft and then you give feedback on it, then you will kind of progressively move to a better response. And also, as you work with this, do templates. If you find something that's really useful, make a template of it and use it many times. It's super, like this is, if you had a good way to do something, you can just reuse it, and then you're all of a sudden you're super fast at doing something you do a lot of times. Example now. So look, this is one I did. Like the prompt: pretend that you are the founder of a company developing an app that helps users get sunscreen based on a photo of their skin. Write a letter to investors to persuade them to invest in your company in the style of Hemingway. This is the flavor. I love Hemingway because he was super short and to the point. And so if you want to get away from verbose answers, it's a hint for you to use the Hemingway style. I like it. And then like make it a one-page letter with a brief, concise sentences focusing on the main message, stuff like this. Then you get, dear investors, you get, this is quite a good email. But now, prompt engineering example 2. This is like a little bit of inception on you, because what I did was, these are some things I want to include. I'm giving a talk about AI and ChatGPT. Give me a good prompt. And then this is how I did. So I didn't write this prompt example. I just gave the prompt to write the prompt example. Remember, cheat as much as possible. That's my new mantra to everybody. If you're doing something, think about, should you really do it? There's a new way to do things, and that's to not do it, but do it only at the meta level. I really, really encourage you to try to, whenever you have a task, think about whether you have to do it or whether the GPT can do it for you. Cool. Also, one kind of caution, I think, like now what's happening is we are nearing AGI, or this artificial general intelligence. We're already to some definition in artificial general intelligence. Something is called artificial general super intelligence, when the AI is much smarter than all of us. This is really disruptive. There's a open letter by the Future of Life Institute. It says like, pause giant AI experience, open letter. Like you hear, I'm super excited about where it is now, but I'm also concerned about going much further. So if you look at this, it's like an open letter to halt development of much bigger models. I don't think humanity is really ready for much better models. Already that's here now is going to be like the Industrial Revolution and electricity and the internet coming at us at the same time. This will be enormously disruptive. And I encourage you to take a look at this and have a think about it. I love it in the short term, but I think in the longer term, it's going to be really, really disruptive and important for us as like a society to think, what do we want to do here, and not just let it happen, because it could go wrong. That's enough. I guess it's somewhat controversial, so I'll shut up on this one now. Cool. Thank you so much. If you like this, please don't hesitate to get early access to Delibr. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Get my book, Epic Alignment. And also, I should say, I had a discussion with Georgina. So we are now with Delibr. We're in a situation where we're getting too many requests. And so we're trying to handle that and filter. So you, as Pragmatic Institute people, you will have like a special link that will get you. I prepared a Google form for you that will come out with mail. Georgina, help me here now. This is only for the people that have gone a course, or what is it? Tell me.
Yes. So we are all, so first I'll answer a quick question for everyone who is anxious to know. Yes, this is being recorded, and you will all receive a recording of this in your inbox in the next coming days. Pragmatic alumni are also going to be offered this early access to come in and kind of play around with Delibr AI. So that is also something that you will receive in your inbox, and is an awesome perk, because Nils is being modest, but he's going to let Pragmatic alum jump to the head of the line, so to speak, or get on the fast track. So we're really excited about that. Right now, I can see that we already have a ton of really fabulous questions in the Q&A box. So if you have other questions, please put them in there. Now is the right time, and we're going to chew through some of these questions here.
Cool. So you told me to also show this before we go into the questions. So I'll let you do that, and then we go to the questions. Is that correct?
That would be perfect. Yes, that'll give folks a moment to offer some questions and ideas in the chat and in the QA. Again, please put your questions in the QA. We've really got a lot of questions today, so that's the best place for us to keep track of what people are asking about. So our next conversation, we are going to be teaming up with the folks at AHA, a tool that you are probably familiar with or have run into people that have used before, really looking at how the pragmatic methodology aligns with the AHA tool. So if you are a pragmatic alum and also an AHA user, really how those two things come together. So we look forward to chatting about that next time. All right, now jumping into some questions. There's a really big trend that I've seen in the questions and in the chat, Nils, thinking about IP issues with ChatGPT, right? A couple of folks have mentioned the snafu with Samsung employees putting some IP and some sensitive information into ChatGPT. And of course, the info you put in there, it learns from, and there's a risk that it'll spit it out elsewhere. Do you have some thoughts or some ideas to offer folks that want to use this professionally and for their business, and how they can navigate IP issues?
Yeah. So I think that's a super good question. I think there are kind of different levels of this. One is where you don't really care at all. This is not sensitive. Then you can just go ahead and use ChatGPT as normal. The second is if you're sensitive about stuff, but you trust OpenAI with what they're saying and what their legal kind of contract says, terms and conditions. And so already now, if you're a paying customer, not if you're a free customer, but if you're a paying customer, if you use ChatGPT Plus, that you cost $20 a month, I think, then they promise that they are not going to use anything that you send in there to train their models, and they're going to remove it and not remove it from their servers within 30 days of you removing it. So if you trust them, then ChatGPT Plus should be possible to do. And then similarly, if you use their API, if you're a paying customer of the API, they don't use that for training as well, as per their terms and conditions. So that's kind of the second level, if you trust what they're doing. At Delibr, that's what we're doing. We're trusting that OpenAI kind of holds to their deal. So we're paying customers, and then we trust that they don't use it for their models, because that's what they're promising not to do. And then, of course, if you're at a level where you don't believe that they do what they're saying, and they're going to steal your stuff anyway, then I think there are options where you can use the kind of models in-house, and you won't be able to have GPT-4, but there are other models that you can run on your own on-prems, but it's much more complicated setup and so forth. So I would really encourage you to try to convince the organizations around you to give you access to the paid version, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm. Are there any arguments that you would, or maybe not arguments, but reasons that you might encourage people to use, where the product folks on this call are fans of using this tool, they want to use it to accelerate their work, but their stakeholders are nervous or resistant? How would you recommend they advocate internally to have better access to this tool?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's super easy. I mean, this is so new. So frankly, if you want to get access to this type of really, really good models without having a cumbersome setup, it's hard to do. But you can pursue, I would pursue two routes in parallel. One route is to try to have a dialogue with your legal and compliance folks at the company to say, look, this is what it says in terms of compliance. If we need to be able to trust this, right? Because there's a huge value at stake for us of being able to use this. And then the other route that you could pursue in parallel is to look at the models that you can have running on your own server, and because there are GPT similar models that you could run on a computer. And if you do that, then obviously you won't share any data with anybody else. So they're the two ways to go about it, I would say.
Mm-hmm. This is a really interesting question that I think you might be really excited to chew on as well, Nils. We have someone here who is really, really excited about this kind of work and is thinking, how do I get a job that is really integrated with ChatGPT, right? How do I get a job that has ChatGPT manager or prompt engineer or something like that in the title? What's coming? What should people look for? And how do they set themselves up for a career path in that area?
Frankly, I think that will be automatic. I don't think that, well, you could have something, I want to be a prompt engineer. And I guess, well, if you go back to, where's the slides here? If we go back to what companies can be doing, I guess one thing you could really pursue is to be like a coach. Because when I talk with management teams, what I tell them to do is to set up a small team within their company that goes around the organization and coach people on how to use tools, and both specific and general tools. So that's, I guess that's one type of job that will exist, and to be like I guess prompt engineering coach, and to get there, I would just suggest you immerse yourself in the what's happening, and try it out a lot, and kind of live and breathe. This is such a new field, so the only way to get about it is to be somewhat of an entrepreneur and try to drive it. The other thing I think is, which is kind of maybe a more boring answer, is I think everybody's going to be like this. I think it's not going to be like you have somebody who works with customer support and somebody who works with customer support for AI, with AI. I think everybody's going to work with customer support with AI. And this is of course true for all the PMs as well. Like, I don't think there's going to be like a PM that doesn't at all work with AI, because I think if you're a product manager and any part of your application involves, look at this, either your customers generating any type of content, or your customers evaluating any type of content, or your customers interacting in some way within your app or otherwise, then you should really go for AI. So I think, and I don't think there are many product managers that don't have the users wanting to do any of these three things. Then I think you should really have another think about it. So if you're already in product management, I think you can really go for this and then become the expert by doing it, because this is such a new field. That's my main advice.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to think that it might become a skill set, like you're a really great communicator, in comparison to a skill or ability like I know how to code Python, right? Everyone's going to have to do it. It's just how good are you at that aspect? Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a really smart answer. We have another trend of a couple questions that have been asked around, I really want to integrate ChatGPT 3 or 4 into my work now, but oh my gosh, I'm looking from November to March. We've already upgraded to something new. How do I use this tool without risking that by time I get it up and running, it's already obsolete in my product? How do you navigate that breakneck speed of development?
Yeah, super good question. I was more worried about this in the early phases. I think right now the format that OpenAI has set for this type of interaction is it's already becoming a little bit stable. And when you think about what it is you're asking, or kind of how you integrate with it, the integration itself is extremely rudimentary. I mean, if I oversimplify, the OpenAI API is just, you say, this is the beginning of something, or like this is what I say. What do you say? This is what you do. And so it's just like a chat, and you could switch it out to any other large language model, and if they change their API, maybe it's going to be a little bit different, but not so different. So if you dig into the API and dig into the APIs, I'm sure you're going to see that even if they do a little bit of tweaking, it's not going to be huge, and then you're going to quickly be able to change along with it. And also OpenAI, I mean, they have a huge incentive to not mess about with people, because they want to be a supplier of this API, and so they have a really incentives to be like a good steward of the customer, if you know what I mean. Yes,
I do. A little bit of a pivot of a question, starting to think about kind of the emotional or social dynamic context of using ChatGPT at work, right? So we've got one question asker who is saying that, some of the more senior, very experienced members of the team that they work with, people that have very long tenures in the workforce, feel that, if you're using ChatGPT to write a post or to write your requirements, it means that you're not good enough to do it yourself. We have other people that feel that they want to take your advice to the new way of doing things is to not do it and to cheat as much as possible, right? Yeah. They do feel a little icky about that, right? They feel like it's not their work. They feel like they're plagiarizing. So as we're dealing with those kind of emotional dynamics personally, and also trying to communicate them with others who might have a little bit of a perspective on using that. How do you think about that, and how do you talk about that?
Yeah. I think actually I have two. My main approach to this is kind of the proof is in the pudding. And so what I think the way to convince these people is to like for me personally, I have a principle that I never lie. It's like I have not lied anything. I have like a little bit of Asperger maybe, so I haven't said anything that's syntactically untrue for 10 years or more. But for me to be able to maintain this, I can say something that's not true, but then I have 30 seconds to take it back. Oh, sorry, I just said that this is not true. Actually, it's like, you know what I mean? And I think for you can give yourself a little bit of time space where you're not entirely transparent, showing people who don't think you should use GPT-4 or whatever. How does this look? And they look at it and are like, yeah, this is great. And then you go like, you know what? This was made by you. Or you can wait. You give them 3 things, and then you go, actually, these 3 things, they were made by. And so you can be like, allow yourself a window where you say, like, I'm going to be sneaky for 1 or 2 weeks. Like, I have one example is like I worked with a researcher who had to write this kind of research summary stuff. GPT-4 is amazing at the research papers. So he had written an abstract, and then I said, no, literature research. This is how you do it. And you get like, and ChatGPT made amazing literature research, amazing annotations, and amazing kind of summary in the kind of formal way you have to write it if you're an academic. And it's like, wow, this would have taken me a week to do. Can I show this? And then we agreed he was going to show it first, and then say, by the way, this was generated. And also I have a friend who's still at McKinsey, one of my friends who's still there. He used it with his teams. Like for every team meeting, he would come in and have like, actually, have you thought about this and this and this? And his teams were like completely blown away because he would come with so much perspective. And then after a while, he said, actually, this is how I did it. You should do it too. And so I think you should really kind of, a way to sneakily introduce it is to do it a little bit like that. I don't know if that's
a little bit of a gotcha moment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Very good, very well put. Exactly.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I feel like I've probably seen someone do something similar. Like, look at this great blog post, and at the bottom of the blog post, by the way, this was all written by AI. You should start using it too.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's going to be all written by AI. It's going to be a little bit of iteration. It's like you do a draft, think about it, do some tweaks, give you some feedback, get it back, and then do final edits, and then it's going to be good to go. But you'll save a lot of time. But you get it.
Gotcha. Really, I think that's a really good answer. I think that's helpful.
Thank you.
Another question about different types of AI models and different spaces to access the benefits of AI, right? So someone is asking, are there different times, are there different use cases where you might choose ChatGPT versus Bard versus Bing, or you'd go to different places, different models? Now that we have kind of a quorum of competitors, are different tools better for different things, or are we all just more personal preference?
Yeah. First, like now I'm being kind of formalistic. I think ChatGPT is the kind of chat app, and I think when you integrate it with the product, it's going to be GPT 3 or 4, and for sure you should aim for 4 and get in line to get a GPT-4 API access if you haven't got it. But then the question is kind of, should you use GPT-4 or some other type of tool? And what are they good for? And here, actually, I think the pragmatic answer is right now, GPT-4 is by far the best. And so don't bother. If you can stomach the terms and conditions and trust them, don't bother too much. As long as it's about writing or evaluating and thinking about text, you can use GPT 3 or 4. I guess if you want embeddings, I don't think that's available for 4 yet. But so you can really go with the OpenAI and then have your eyes open for when the other ones introduce. Anthropic has Claude. I guess could be quite good. But if you want to start out, I would really encourage you to go with OpenAI first, and then kind of diverge once you get there.
Yeah.
And of course, there are other models like for generating images, then Midjourney might be the best one. And because I don't think Dali is so good. But if it's about kind of interpreting or generating text, then I think really GPT-4 is the best.
Okay. Next question I have for you is, I have not seen a question in a while that has been so quintessentially a product manager's question.
Cool.
And a very pragmatic methodology-based question as well, so I like it. How do you see the willingness of the market to pay for advanced features that are powered by GPT or AI at this point in the maturity curve, right? So how, do you think there's a high willingness to pay for people to say this is the base tool, and if you want the premium tier that has GPT in it, where do you think that willingness to pay is today?
Yes, I'm not going to have a good answer here. I think my answer is like this: we don't know. This is so new, and so I don't think when I was at McKinsey and we did pricing studies, there was this kind of framework called structure, conduct, and performance. And it basically said that the way pricing works is based on the structure of the market, like how many players are there, big and small, what's the relationship, and kind of what are substitutes and so forth. Conduct, how are people behaving around this? And that will then result in the performance and kind of profitability of the companies in the market. And generally, if you have a structure with a lot of players that are competing fiercely, the conduct is going to be that they undercut each other, and the performance is going to be low profitability, versus structure where you have few big players. They're going to be less price kind of cutting, and then they're going to have higher margins. But it's not always the case. Sometimes you have fierce competition with few players and vice versa. And I think that the conduct around this is completely unknown. But generally, I would say, like, if you're in a situation where you have a very niche product where we can extract premium pricing, you will probably be able to do so in the future as well, and add that to your premium features. And if you're under price pressure, I think it's gonna kind of align roughly with the other pricing aspects of what we do. But I don't know. I mean, it's completely unknown. We have been experimenting with kind of adding a kind of, depending on how much AI features you use, you kind of use it on the meat, like on a tap. But then it's right now, frankly, it's so cheap. Like it's crazy cheap, the pricing they have, OpenAI. So we haven't seen, like, if you compare the kind of AI consumption versus pricing, it's cost nothing. So you don't have to include that meter either. So I don't know. I think my main answer is it's too early to tell, but it's probably going to follow the general kind of style of pricing for your industry in general.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a smart answer. It's very interesting right now. It's almost as if there's a great leveling in terms of the big players and the smaller players that are coming into the space, because there's no historical precedent. It's brand new for everybody. Everybody's experimenting. So it's an interesting leveling in the business world and in the product world, certainly.
Yeah. And on that, I like when Microsoft released their CoPilot of chatting with stuff, I was like, we just have to go home now. We're out. But then OpenAI released ChatGPT plugins. And that type of thing, and basically saying, we're going to make this type of Copilot available for everybody. And then I was super excited, because my Copilot for PMs is going to be way better for PMs than Microsoft's whatever Copilot general, because we're going to be, and that's going to be true for all SaaS companies. Like your kind of specific Copilot is going to be so much better than the general ones. So I agree with you. It's going to be crazy leveling now, where companies can become really good at one area, and then they can tailor the AI to that. It's going to be super cool to see what happens.
Yeah. So we also have someone that is interested in integrating, or I think we have a lot of people that are interested in this, but one asking about it, who's interested in integrating AI and ChatGPT into their product today, and is asking about the scope of pricing costs for integrating these types of technologies into a product. So as someone who is running and owning a product, how do you map out the costs of what it might be for you, again, because we're in this kind of unknown area of how much is it going to cost to kind of introduce into your product as a feature?
Yeah, super good question. So I'll divide it in two. One is the kind of costing of the AI, and then the other one is kind of how can you do it? And so I think the costing, I mean, I come back to my answer previously. So it's crazy cheap, and it's also very transparent. You can look at OpenAI's homepage and the pricing they have, and you learn a little bit about what tokens mean, and you do a little bit of token calculation, how much consumption you think you're going to have. I think you quite quickly come to quite a good idea of what it is going to be like. And then if you're afraid that OpenAI is going to kind of turn up the prices a lot once people go dependent on them, then I think you can actually rest assured that a lot of other players are piling in. And so if they ramp up their prices, you can switch because the APIs are going to be really simple. So you can just switch to another provider, and they're going to be low cost. Maybe not exactly as good answers that you get from the prompts, but almost. So I think you can do a quite good calculation. And I think in general, you'll find that it's going to be crazy cheap. The second one is kind of how you do it. And then I really encourage you, if you're interested in integrating with ChatGPT specifically, I encourage you to get in line for the ChatGPT plugins. It's a super cool way. I think of it as kind of, even if you may want to have your CoPilot yourself down the line, I think a good way to experiment and get towards that and kind of understand what it means to work with the chat working with your product. I think the ChatGPT plugins will be a super good way to start. And what the general thing that they made it is that they have something called manifest files, which is basically a very simple API description. And based on that, the AI can just interact with your API and do a bunch of stuff in your app and understand what's going to happen. So super cool. I encourage you to get on the list to try it out. We have.
Pivoting a little bit away from the business of using ChatGPT in your product, asking some questions here about getting ChatGPT to give you an answer that's in a particular format. Do you know a way to do that? For example, yes. I want you ChatGPT to give me a flow chart, or I want you to give me these answers in a template.
Yes. So the super good question and really relevant, and it shows that you're thinking about it the right way, because unless it delivers like this, then that won't matter. So, but I actually think I found GPT to be very, very flexible, and you can basically say, hey, this is what I want. This is some input I have. This is what I want to achieve. I want you to reply to me in exactly this format. And then you define the format. And the weird thing is, you can define it however you like. And it's like you talk to a human being, and GPT-4 is going to pick it up pretty well and figure out how you want it. And then you can do a little bit of experiments, but quite quickly you'll figure out that you can get really good answer on exactly the format you like. GPT-4 is crazy good at replying on a specific format. And then the next level, if that kind of specifying the format in the prompt doesn't get you all the way, then you can work with something called fine tuning, which is where you give additional data to the model saying, when I ask for this, I want a reply that looks like this. And then if you do it like that, then wait a minute. Then it's going to be it's going to work really well. So those are two ways to do it, but I really encourage you to try the prompt route first, because it's much easier and it typically works crazy well. Okay.
When I asked the original icebreaker question at the beginning of this session, a fair number of folks said, I don't have a favorite use case. I haven't used it very much yet. And I think now by the end of this session, you've probably converted everyone who hadn't played around with it so far is going to go do that right now as soon as we wrap up.
Go do it.
They're going to do it. I have one final question for you to wrap up our session together. And that is, I've got a couple people asking, how can one obtain your level of energy and passion and knowledge? So not really a little bit of a rhetorical question there, but I must say, I certainly agree. I would also like to know how one acquires your level of energy and passion.
Thank you so much for the compliment. I guess it's just like work with stuff you really love. Then I think I think that's the biggest component, because like you can tell, I'm super passionate about this, and I think it's so cool what's happening.
Yes, I totally agree. This has been a wonderful session. Nils, thank you so much for joining us. Folks that are on the line with us here, connect with Nils on LinkedIn, get his book, check out Delibr. And as always, there are a number of questions we didn't get to, but we can always answer them in Pragmatic's alumni community. So you can hang out with us there and we'll continue the conversation. Nils, again, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. See you next time.